Hey, before we dive in, a quick heads up. This series is called Validating the BPD Life, and that's exactly what it's here to do. Validate the experience of living with borderline personality disorder, hopefully making you feel a little less alone. That said, if you don't have BPD, there's still value here, especially if you've loved or currently love someone who does. But fair warning, we'll be talking about some heavy stuff. Self-harm, self-destructive behavior, hospitalizations, and a lot of emotional pain. You might feel grief, guilt, anger, rage, shame, or confusion while watching. And if you do, that makes sense. Don't judge yourself for feeling anything. Don't shame yourself for being triggered. Emotions show up for a reason, even if you don't know that reason right away. If it helps, try saying, "It makes sense I'd feel this way after everything I've been through." And if you've ever been hospitalized or felt like you were losing your mind, I wrote a book about my own experience at a psych ward, and you can grab it at the link right here. Or here. To be honest, I'm not sure where I'm going to put it, so I'm just going to say grab it. It supports the work I do and might help you feel a little less lonely on this journey. All right, without further delay and nothing more to say, buckle up, Buttercup. It is time to walk the middle path towards common humanity and a wise mind. Has anyone ever told you that you're too much? Too sad, too loud, too raw, too honest? Tell me if this sounds familiar. Someone close to you, or maybe a fucking stranger, I don't know your life, pulls you aside and shares some words with you. It's meant to be kind, thoughtful even, and totally in your best interest. It might sound something like this.
Hey, so you walk into a room like a thunderstorm, loud, electric, impossible to ignore. Your presence is so big, so immediate that it shifts the energy without you even trying. And the truth is, not everyone knows how to handle that. You're magnetic, sure, but you're also a lot. You say what's on your mind, you laugh too loud, and you don't shrink. And while that's powerful, it's also overwhelming sometimes. I mean, you take up a lot of space. Emotionally, energetically. It's impressive, but it can feel like there's no room for anyone else. I think if I'm being honest, being around you makes me feel small, and maybe that's more about me than it is about you, but still, you're intense. You're too much, and I don't always know how to deal with that.
Now, there was a time where I'd either fight, flee, or fawn in these moments. I was unaware of what to do with my own emotional sensitivity. I can be highly emotionally sensitive. I'd received the feedback as invalidation. It would trigger defensiveness, and I would fight against the criticism. Maybe I would gaslight and say, "That's not what's happening. I think you're not seeing things clearly." Or I'd counter with some cruel criticism of my own, like maybe you shouldn't be a little bitch about it and like me for me. Or I would maybe fawn and say something like, "Oh, shoot, I'm really sorry. I can work on it. I'm so sorry I made you feel that way. I'm trying and I'll do better. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this with me." None of these are effective. More importantly, they're not in line with my current values, and they lack something important. Did you look up the word I told you to look up in the last episode? You didn't? What the hell? Why not? Oh, you did. Great. Then you know what I'm about to say. It lacks dialectics. Dialectics is a core idea in DBT, and it's about holding two seemingly opposite truths at the same time, allowing both to be valid. Instead of thinking in black or white, either or terms, dialectical thinking is a flexible both-and mindset. It helps us make sense of complicated realities like, I'm doing the best I can, and I need to try harder, or I love you, and sometimes your behavior hurts me. Dialectics reminds us that truth is rarely simple or one-sided. Life is full of tension, nuance, and contradiction. When we try to deny that, when we cling to just one side of the story, our suffering can increase. Dialectical thinking asks, what if both are true? What's missing from my perspective? Where is the synthesis, the deeper truth that holds the tension of opposites? This approach helps us move from rigidity to wisdom. It gives us room to grow, to connect more honestly, and to make space for complexity in ourselves, in our relationships, and in the world. So let's get back to that friend's well-intentioned, though invalidating nonetheless, statement about us being too much. With this concept of dialectics, how do we reframe that for ourselves? It might sound something like this. I walk into a room like a thunderstorm. True. Loud, electric, impossible to ignore. My presence is big, and I know that sometimes it can be overwhelming. That's true. People might feel small next to me. I've seen it, and I felt it. It's hard to breathe when someone like me takes up so much air at times. And it's also true that I shouldn't have to shrink just to make other people comfortable. I'm not wrong for being intense. I'm not too much. I'm just more than some people are used to. Maybe even more than I'm used to sometimes. There's space for my bigness and space for other people to have reactions to it. I can hold both. I don't have to choose between dimming my light or watching everyone else disappear in its glow. Maybe the real work is learning how to stand in the storm of who I am without needing anyone to vanish, including me. Being a storm doesn't mean I have to destroy everything in my path. This is where emotion regulation arrives. My feelings are real, my intensity is valid, and without regulation, that intensity can burn bridges I don't want to lose. Emotion regulation doesn't mean shutting down or becoming smaller. It means learning how to ride the waves without drowning, how to express what I feel without spiraling, how to honor my fire without setting everything on fire. When I can do that, when I can feel big feelings and still choose how I respond, that's when I start building a life that actually feels worth living. Not one where I'm constantly apologizing for who I am, one where I can be both powerful and grounded, present and safe, seen and in control. Before getting my accurate diagnosis, working on myself was a losing battle. I was in a boat with one oar. Prior to dialectical behavior therapy, I wasn't only too much for some of the people around me, I was overwhelming myself and increasing my own suffering. Without emotion regulation, being too much meant hurting myself, hurting others, and splitting from all good or all bad thought distortions constantly. It meant that I was out of control and ruled by thoughts I believed were my identity, emotions I thought could not be separate from my core personhood. Sometimes it made me a ball at parties, events, and god damn could I get and hold a crowd's attention at times. The truth is that those moments came at a high cost. Pre-diagnosis and early on in the healing journey, too much meant life was too much. My emotions were a tempest, ripping me under in whichever direction the emotional current took me. Sometimes it worked out, and a lot of the times it did not. When the dust settled, I truly did feel like I was too much. For a lot of us with BPD, emotion regulation can feel like a betrayal of who we are. We think if I don't express this feeling right now, it'll destroy me. Or if I calm down, they'll think I was never really upset to begin with. We often fear that managing our emotions means we're being fake, robotic, or inauthentic, that we're letting people walk all over us. And sometimes there's a belief that unless we make others feel the intensity of what we're feeling, they won't truly understand or care. These are common thought distortions, black and white thinking, emotional reasoning, catastrophizing, and they make it hard to believe that regulation is even possible, let alone worth it. However, emotion regulation doesn't mean denying how we feel. It means giving ourselves more choice in what we do with those feelings. It's not about becoming less emotional. It's about learning how to be powerful without being destructive. That's not a weakness. That's wisdom. And it's one of the hardest, bravest things we can do on the road to a life worth living. Being emotionally sensitive is a damn superpower. Think about it. I can sense what others are feeling often before they are aware of it. I can walk into a room and read it without much effort. And I can validate someone else's pain and suffering because at times I am literally feeling it alongside them. Emotional sensitivity, being too much, can hinder our life worth living goals. And it can be a huge asset in our healing journey. Learning to notice the emotions, to challenge them at times, and to allow them breathing room are ginormous assets to being alive, to being human. So to answer the question posed by the title of this video, yes, being too much is a diagnosis. And it's a goddamn compliment too.